Welcome to today's episode of the Insurance, Life, and Everything in Between podcast. My name is Adam Brsan.
And I'm Chris Smith.
If you've yet to do so, hit that subscribe button so you never miss another episode. And if you love this podcast, don't forget to share it with a friend or colleague. We greatly appreciate your help and support.
You know, one of the things that I think is so important when it comes to surviving in the fall is sticking to your schedule. I think we didn't mention that in my open, but I think it's incredibly important to remember if your schedule is your schedule and you're committed to that schedule and your family gets used to that schedule, then they're going to respect it the same way. But if you don't respect your own schedule, if you just come and go as you please, you're creating that standard and that situation for your family as well. And maybe you don't have a big family, a lot of bills and mouths to feed. Maybe it's just yourself, but moral of the story remains the same. Another point to succeed this fall is to make that schedule your schedule and respect it no matter what. So, we know what's interesting about this time of year, and I know I said it in the open, but I'd love to hear your thoughts, that what you do now directly impacts how the winter is going to play out and how the opening of the year begins. I think so many people, especially in self-employment, enjoy taking excessive amounts of time off, and that's their right in some cases, but they don't realize, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, how messy it can be if you don't recognize that what you do today affects tomorrow and even January in a lot of cases.
For sure. You got to treat this like a full-time career. You can't be taking time off all the time. I think sometimes people, they can't handle the independence. They wonder why they're not succeeding and they're just not putting the time in. It's real easy to take off, on a whim to do other things. But as I know we've talked about in the past, I think when you take time off, you got to figure out ways to make that time up. We're not on a salary. I mean, the only time we are making money is when we're sitting in front of somebody that can say yes to our offering. So the more time we take off, the more we're putting ourselves at risk financially too. So, I can't stand when, I'm more than willing to help, like when our kids have stuff, but sometimes it just bugs me when I'm kind of in a groove and I got to cut off at 3:00 to pick someone up at school or something like that. So little things like that. You can even figure out ways to adjust your schedule, but even someone once told me, don't be a cab driver. And what they meant by that was don't do things throughout your day that you could pay somebody else to do for you. Don't take off work on Friday to go cut your grass if you could pay a kid in your neighborhood $25 to cut your grass.
So true. Or just enjoy the time that you don't have to cut your grass because you worked hard enough to enjoy the hour off or the time with your family. Like, I think people forget the value of delegation with some of those aspects of life that you earn the right to do when you're making good money because you've respected your schedule.
Yeah, most definitely. One thing, Chris, too, talking about the fall, I think I wrote one note on this topic and put an exclamation point next to it so I wouldn't forget. I think that this time of year, one thing, being out in the field, it's getting darker out earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking about how I usually will door knock leads until it gets dark. I'll work appointments after the dark. So that's where I just think that it's important to set your schedule. If you're door knocking leads, do whatever you can to try to set up that 6:00 appointment, that 7:00 appointment in the evening. They know you're coming, they're expecting you, and there's no reason to shy away from showing up in the dark if you have that appointment set. So, sometimes people feel like, well, it's getting dark out earlier, that's going to cut my day short. It doesn't have to. Don't let it cut your day short. Just make sure you have that structure and have those appointments set so you still have people to sit in front of in the evening time.
Yeah, I know we have an entire stock training that we pull out of the archive every year when daylight savings hits. And it's as traditional as the Thanksgiving call or the last call of the year or the first call of the year. The first day of daylight savings, we bring this training out of the archive. And that's one of the biggest points. It's now time to set your day in reverse. I think that's one of the lines from the training where instead of setting your 10 o'clock first, it's your 6 o'clock first. One of
Yeah.
our agents, Adam, who you think looks like Joe Madden, and I don't know if Bob Eckert would appreciate the humor in that one, is he was always trained and practices the concept that it's never dark in a senior center. Like maybe you've got leads in an apartment or a senior center. Maybe you host one in the evening. You can capitalize on those opportunities when it's getting darker later. But also, if it's getting darker later, you for damn sure better be starting sooner. Like from the moment that morning call is over, you should be exiting your car, and banging on a door or picking up your phone for the first dial of the day for telesales.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing I like about our call is that it does kind of get people moving for the day. It's a good start to the day. Um, and I think, yeah, set your schedule to kind of accommodate having the morning call. And then from there, I mean, that's kind of like, especially like I said, now it's a little bit different for me because my little boy wants me to drive him to school every day. Friday is like the only day that I don't because we have our live video. But uh, that's helped me as well. Kind of getting up and out of the house to get him ready and take him to school in the morning. And by the time I drop him off, it's 8:30. But same thing with the call. I mean, our call, I've always said it kind of gets you up and moving. And from there, yeah, my first appointment's usually 9 o'clock in the morning. So it's a good way to kind of get moving and get the day started on a high note. I think we talk about what I like about the call, and for a while, I never really hopped on the call a whole lot. This year, I have a lot more than last, and I think for me, it's just kind of more of an accountability thing, especially the day of the week when we kind of broadcast to the world our goal of what we're
Mhm.
looking to do. Uh, yeah, I've talked about the goals that I set and the high goals that I put out there. If I say I'm going to do 6,000 for the week and I write like one app, I kind of look like an idiot. So, I mean, to me,
And then you got to talk about it all Friday. Like, what are you going to
yeah,
talk about if you
I
wrote one
mean,
application?
yeah, my goal this week was 6,000. I wrote 4,500. I've said I would rather shoot for the gold and hit the bronze than, shoot for the bronze and hit the bronze. So
Yeah.
I'll take the bronze this week. I'll take 4,500 in a 3-day week. Uh, but yeah, just the call that having that accountability kind of set in and just kind of having that goal like instilled in my mind and being focused on that and doing whatever I can to try to hit it and not going home early feeling satisfied if I didn't hit that goal yet.
Yeah, I think what it does is it provides structure. And I think in a self employment environment, which is new to a lot of people or a challenge for most people, having just an ounce of structure gets you onto the path towards where you need to go. And I think a lot of licensed agents, insurance agents in disguise, honestly, why they aren't getting where they want to go is they don't have any kind of structure. They haven't dialed into any kind of a system. They haven't engaged in any form of community. And then nothing happens. Like even when you worked at a captive company and the comp wasn't the best and the product wasn't competitive, none of that stuff really mattered because that captive company, I would guess, provided you a good degree of structure that put you in the path towards where you were trying to go. Would I be right in saying that?
Yeah, I would think so. For me, I don't know. I've always been self-motivated to just get out and work. It's just to me, it's just always been the sort of opportunity that you're going to get out of it as much as what you're willing to put in.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, all this other stuff is great, but I think you got to be self motivated. I mean, well, if you're not self motivated, you're probably not going to hop on that call in the morning.
No.
Um, we talk about work ethic. Um, and I've said this many times. I mean, there's no sense in even hopping on our call every morning or our trainings on Fridays if you're just going to lay around in bed all day. Like, what good
What's
does
the
it do you?
point? Like what? Yeah.
What's the
It's
point?
like
Why waste
watching
your
a
time
video about
hopping
the
on a
gym.
training? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. You watch workout videos and you stay fat. So,
It's it's
I mean,
hypocritical in a way. Yeah, I mean, I
yeah,
don't get it sometimes because I know it's hard to get started. It's incredibly hard. It's nerve-wracking, but you just got to get started. When you're given everything you need, then you got to take it and run. Here's a single carrier contract. Here's leads, either free or purchased. Here's ways to get them or how we're going to provide them. Here's what you're going to say and how you're going to say it. Now it's time to go. And if you don't go, what was the rest of it even for? You know, I think we talk to a lot of people too. I know through our recruiting platform who are used to a job, they're used to a salary, they're used to an hourly wage, but they see what we're doing, they see what we're saying, they see what's available in the industry, but they're afraid to make that leap from $20 an hour or $40,000 a year, which is fine and it's a choice that people make, but they're afraid to make that leap into self-employment. What would you say to somebody like that who might want to make a change this fall to succeed?
Well, it's the sort of career that, like I said, I mean, you're going to get out of it as much as what you're willing to put in. You can't have the fear of failure. You got to focus on the goals at hand. You got to focus on really what could be. And I think that it's I don't know, it's not for everybody. Sometimes I think, I'm sure we've all worked with people that maybe just can't handle the independence. They have to have that guaranteed money. But I can't stand when I see people that I think are motivated, that could do really well, that even start out well, and then they maybe just hit a little bump in the road, and then they're right back to that 9 to 5 job,
Man, that's
because it's like
frustrating.
they passed up so much opportunity. Uh, because I know they're not going to make the sort of money in that 9 to 5 that they could make doing what we do.
Yeah.
Again, it's not for everybody. I mean, maybe sometimes people are complacent with their 9 to 5, and they're fine on that hourly wage, and they need that. They can't handle, like I said, they can't handle the independence. They can't handle getting out of bed unless they have someone saying you got to be to work at this time. Again, it's not for everybody, but for
No.
those that are willing to take a little bit of a risk, I don't think there's another career out there outside of like a professional athlete, really, that you could make as much as what you could in this business if you do it the right way.
Yeah, I remember an agent worked with us in California years ago. Was success. I mean, proved that he could do it. He wrote business. He bought leads. He dialed in. He did all the things that show that you can do it. But the moment he hit that initial level of resistance, he was nowhere to be found. And then I just kept texting, and I'm like, I'm not giving up until he tells me what happened. Like I get the point eventually, but I liked the guy. I'm like, what happened? Well, it got tough when I went back to doing this job. Like it's disappointing. Like you're better
Yeah.
than that. You saw that you could do it. And one of our agents now, they're entering like that month 6 through 9 phase, which means they're going to face their first wave of chargebacks. You know, when you get started and you're new with the carrier, there's no fall off. You're just writing business and getting paid. It's amazing. It's exciting. But 20% is going to fall off no matter how good you are. And they're facing that first wave of chargebacks. I see it in an email. I know they're writing good business and they're writing real business and it's not the same person over and over again, but they just got to keep going. Like go through year one and know it's going to suck. Work just as hard in year two as you did in year one. Then when you look back at them, I don't think you really ever have to check the price on anything that's less than 4 figures again, right?
Yeah. Well, one thing too, Chris, I think that sometimes it might not be the lack of motivation. Um, they might see the opportunity and see the sort of money that they can make. But again, when they hit that little bump in the road, sometimes they can't afford to stay in business. And that's where I think with what we got going on with our lead program, and the fact that we have the ability to bring new people into working with us and providing them a steady flow of leads at no expense to them on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
Is Why do I hear music? Do you hear that?
Oh, yeah. No, I do not hear any music. Maybe the rapture's happening and I missed the boat.
Yeah, I don't know. In my speaker, I don't know what it is.
No,
All of
yeah,
a
I
sudden,
get it. Like the career program offers someone the opportunity to come in, get started within 7 to 10 days, get
yeah,
contracted with whoever contracts them the quickest. I don't care who it is. And then we get them a set of leads and we send them into the field and see if they're going to sell one policy. And that one policy proves to us that they can do it, proves to themselves that they can do it. And then week 2, they got to do 2. Week 3, they have to do 3. And before you know it, they're on track And we've taken a lot of that heavy lifting off of the table. Now, of course, you still have to go out there and produce and be a good, ethical, hardworking agent, but you don't need the capital to get started anymore. And you can graduate off of the career program if you choose to. But that opportunity is there for the right kind of people that really want to get to that next level of income and who can, as you would say, bet on yourself. But I would love in our final 5 minutes, once we kind of flesh this one out, to talk through chargeback and roll up, because most agency owners like yourself, faced with the kind of roll up that you recently hit, wouldn't get on a Friday call and talk positive. They wouldn't even do it. They would spend all weekend complaining about it. They would do the exact opposite of what you're doing today. And I would love to, in the last 5 minutes, kind of flesh through why you're not letting that kind of thing slow you down and accept that as a good learning experience from the kind of producers that create debt and the kind that create production.
Yeah, well, I think the best way to handle roll up debt is to nip it before it begins. Um, by kind of what we have going on, Chris, with kind of having a nice close knit group of people that we work with. People that are on our call on a regular basis. We share ideas, we work together, we kind of look out for everybody's best interests. I think those are really the type of people that we want as part of the organization. And when we have some that we bring on, maybe we every once in a while, maybe we just bring on the person that maybe has that potential, but they just don't want to be involved. They kind of want to just do their own thing. And when you don't know where that business is coming from, it's risky business. When we have our agents that we have involved with our lead program that are where we're ordering leads and they have those leads coming to them on a regular basis, well, we have a pretty good idea where that production's coming from.
Yeah.
But when we have someone that they're putting up some numbers and we see some overrides coming in and yay, great, but we don't know where that business is coming from. And it's a consistent sort of thing where it's like, a bunch of business coming in and then chargebacks and then a bunch of business coming in and then chargebacks.
Go from this carrier to that carrier. Oh, wait, that's the same name.
Jumping around from one carrier to the next. It's not good business. Yeah. I recently got hit with some roll up debt. I didn't even think about it. Honestly. It was like 3,500 in debt. I went out and wrote business. I cleared it up. Like I don't even have that debit balance with them right now. I can write business with them and see a full commission. So I think that's the thing. Just you can't think about it. You just got to move forward. And I'll do what I can to try to collect on that money. But in the end, I think the best way to handle it and not have to worry too much about chargebacks and roll up debt is kind of like what we got going now, Chris, and not just bringing on any agent to bring on that agent because they might write some business. We want people that kind of fit the mold of like what we're looking for and people that kind of buy into what we can do to help them to have that long-term success in the business.
Yeah, it's just, it's unfortunate, and you can take the risk if you'd like to take the risk. But when you see someone that wants to come on in a broker capacity, generally speaking, there are exceptions to this rule, and I could name names and it wouldn't be a point in doing so. But generally speaking, people that just want to pick up a contract with you, they don't want leads, they don't want training, they don't want support, they don't want to hear from you, they don't want to be involved in anything. You really should ask yourself, how much of a check am I going to write when this doesn't work out? Is it going to be 3, 5, 10? How quick do I have to cut it off when it happens? Like, it just doesn't work, because in this business, if you're going to build a business, you have to kind of build it somewhere and not just all over the place. I think those kind of folks are hobbyists and they don't even realize it. And if you're going to get to the point where you go from survival to thriving, from thriving to LLC, from LLC to S Corp, from S Corp to the private equity table, from you to you and 15, you and 50, you and you in a book of business, you in a brick and mortar. There has to be progressions in business, and those aren't built just spreading yourself all over the industry and then chasing debt from one place to the next.
Yeah, we almost need to look at it too. I mean, advanced commission is essentially almost like a loan that's going to be paid back from the client making those payments every month. But I mean, are you going to loan out money to somebody that where you don't have any idea of how that money is going to be paid back to you.
No.
I wouldn't. That's why, like I said, with what we got going, I mean, at least we know there's a good chance that that money is going to be paid back. Yeah, they're getting advanced commission. It's going to be paid back from those clients that are making those payments each month. But we're teaching people how to do stuff the right way. We're showing them how to set drafts properly. We're showing them well, and then they, like I said, and they have the leads, which, like I said, makes me feel a lot more comfortable when I know where that business is coming from.
Absolutely. Any closing thoughts on your week or what someone can do to make sure they close their week in a successful manner?
Well, again, ending the week strong. Figure out ways to make some sales. Find some sales. Whether that is, I know you talked earlier in the week, Chris, about kind of going back to existing policyholders. This time of year, yeah, it's a great time to do that. I think Medicare season, even election season. There's a lot on people's minds. Uh, it's not a bad idea, really, to maybe go back to people that you've already done business with that are willing to sit down with you. They've already let you in the house one time. Uh, you always got to go back to your clients. If you don't go back to them, someone else is going to, and that can lead to
So true.
replacements and everything else. So just yeah, if you want to end the week strong, just find some sales. And like I said, go to policyholders, go through your book, go through and see if there's anybody that maybe you feel like you could have wrote that maybe you're better now, and maybe you didn't write them the first time. There's still a chance that there's a need there. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
We got a question from Aaron, which is awesome to kind of wrap up today's call with, because that's the whole purpose of Dynamic Fridays, to get interactive with our core agent partners, with social media, with anybody who wants to watch. And if you are watching today, tomorrow, or 10 years from now, drop us a comment on when you watched, what you liked from it, what you want to hear us talk about, where you're at. Just drop us a comment, because that'll help show our content to others. Aaron asks, super quick question. Adam mentioned earlier about appointments he had where the brother helped with the finances. Do you ever ask ahead of time of somebody if it kind of helps them that make their financial decisions?
You know what? I mean, usually maybe if the person is like over 80 years old, maybe I'll ask. But younger people, not usually. That scenario, that guy, like I said, he already had a policy that had lapsed a while back with another agent that passed it over to me. I didn't think that I kind of walked in feeling like it was going to be a slam dunk. Like I didn't think that there would be any sort of middleman involved. So I usually don't ask if anybody helps unless they're, like I said, unless they're like 80 years old, maybe, or older. And they seem like maybe there's a good chance that their kids help them with stuff. Chris and I have talked about this. I mean, our parents never call us for financial advice. And I
No.
mean, we're in the financial business.
Yeah.
So,
That, that should tell you plenty right there. They're in the final
yeah.
expense age range, a senior market. Let's just keep it that way. We're in that same age as many of these kids, and we don't get those kind of calls. So you know that that's just not a real thing a majority of the time. I like to use the rapport building phase to really kind of find that stuff out. And if I start smelling like that's an issue, I ask, like, well, do you pay your rent? Do you go get your groceries? Like, how do you manage your medical? Asking those kind of like inquisitive, tactical questions to find out. And if it sounds like that's the case, then I ask to get that person on the phone and go over the information with them and get their vote of approval. And if I can't, then I know that it's all made up. And I think one of
I
the
have a
biggest things
question for
I've
you,
ever,
Chris.
go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No,
Just
you're
was
fine.
thinking. Um, when I would write some business in Wisconsin, I would run into people, and it actually happened to me yesterday in Illinois, and it's never happened to me in Illinois, where this person told me that they have a payee
Oh,
that
okay.
like handles their business. Is that a thing like by you where like people have like some sort of designated like payee? It might not even be like a relative. It's just like, I don't know, someone who's like
Right.
assigned to
Mhm.
handle their business, their finances. This lady yesterday, she had like schizophrenia and she was bipolar. Like, I don't
Mhm.
know, maybe that's a new thing in Illinois. I've never heard it before where they have like an assigned payee.
Yeah,
But
I've seen it in Pennsylvania. I haven't run into
okay.
it yet in Maryland, but It's typically folks that I've seen, and I mean in a respectful sense, just can't manage their money. Maybe it's mental health. Maybe they're able to live independently and somebody checks in on them weekly through that same program. Maybe they have their medicines brought to them. Like maybe they can handle the base level of independent living, but the financial part of it, not happening. And the Social Security goes to the payee company. The payee pays the person's rent. They get an allowance, but realistically, the chance that it turns into quality business is like zero, like negative 2%. And I've
Well,
tried it.
yeah.
I've chased it. I followed it. I tried to get a call with the rep pay. I tried all of the things, especially when I had 5 days in the field and time. It just doesn't work. In those situations, I would pivot to Medicare, but I would be surprised. They probably are on some kind of all-inclusive life program that covers their health care for them as well. And they're just generally not a fit for what we're doing.
Yeah, that was the one thing, I was thinking about yesterday when I was talking to this lady. Yeah, she needed the insurance. She did, but
Mhm.
with this payee, kind of like a middleman. I don't even think this lady had a bank account.
No.
Her social security just went straight to this payee. The payee kind of managed everything. So, I don't think the payee, I don't know if there's a set established bank account like for each person or what. This person's not going to want a life insurance payment coming out of their own bank account for this person. So,
No, it's
like I
usually a
said,
corporation.
it seems like a pretty complicated sort of situation that, like you said, sometimes you win some, you lose some. It's probably one that unfortunately the person needs it, but the best bet's probably just to move on.
Yeah, and that Tom, I know you said your sister works in an environment like that. In those situations, do you ever see them getting set up with insurance? Does it ever really connect? Have you ever had that opportunity to connect with them and get them covered? I'd be curious your thoughts on that as we get close to closing up. But that raises a good point. It's important to sometimes understand some people really just don't qualify, and you're not going to get blood out of a stone. Landon was with a client yesterday. Great presentation, called me from the home, did everything right. And she just wouldn't budge off of talking to her daughter. And I said, don't hard close her. Don't try to keep beating this one up. Move on. Sometimes you're just not going to be able to get it done. And all that person is doing is keeping you from getting to the next person that you're supposed to be helping.
Yeah, exactly. So, like I said, sometimes you just got to move on and, buy leads, have plenty of
Buy more
people
of
to
them.
see. Yeah, have plenty of people to see, and you're not going to let that one that you weren't able to do anything with affect you.
Not at all.
That's just the name of the game. It's about consistency, having that steady flow of leads on a regular basis. And yeah, you win some, you lose some. You just got to keep, throwing more irons into the fire.
Yeah, Tom said it takes too much coordinating to pull it off. Don't put too much energy into the deal. Absolutely. Like this is the McDonald's. This isn't $100,000 annuity. This is how many people can I see, which will give me how many people I can close, which will get me into next week. If you're watching again, drop us a comment. If you watch at any point in time, we appreciate that. Share it out. Adam, appreciate you being with us, to being on and leading today. And let's go out there and make it a successful close to the week.
Sounds good. Thanks, Chris. Good luck, everybody. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you back next week. Hop on the call on Monday if you have any questions or want the information on how to hop on those calls. Either shoot me or Chris a message. We'd be happy to assist you with that. Thanks again. And this concludes another episode of the Insurance, Life, and Everything in Between podcast. If you like what you heard, don't forget to subscribe, share with a friend or colleague. And if you have any comments or suggestions for future episodes, please leave those too. Any input is greatly appreciated. Thank you.